Hi everybody, welcome to episode 5 of Satellite 664. I'm one of your two co-hosts, Kaz Tagyan from the beautiful city of Melbourne, Australia. And as always, I'm joined by Mr. Steve Loopy Newhouse in Romford, Essex. How are you,
Yeah,
boss?
not so beautiful.
Is it not so beautiful?
Romford sucks.
And we have a very special guest for you this evening. We have the honour of being joined by the original singer of the mighty Iron Maiden, Mr. Paul Mario Day. Welcome to the show.
How you going?
Hey, bro.
So,
Right.
now we've got a quite a unique Australian flavour to tonight's show, Paul, because you and I are only 1 hour away from each other, aren't we?
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in Melbourne and you're in Newcastle.
That's right.
Is it Newcastle or Newcastle?
Yeah. Newcastle, really.
Yeah.
Newcastle. It's Newcastle, I think, when you start getting to the Midlands of England. It starts becoming Newcastle.
Yeah. Well, actually, in Melbourne and Sydney they say Newcastle and say Newcastle, but in Adelaide it's Newcastle. I think it's the more English.
In the south of England, words like castle, the south tend to add an R, whereas you go sort of north of Watford, so that's basically the north. They take the R away, so castle becomes castle, Bath becomes Bath. So that's the way it works. But us being East Enders, it'll be Newcastle.
Great. So, Paul, let's start at the beginning. Could you kindly introduce yourself to the audience and just tell us a little bit about your origins, where you came from, where you grew up?
Yeah, sure. East End of London boy. I used to like pretty close to the Whitechapel sort of area, moving out east of London to the edges. Basically Leighton, Stone, Walthamstow were the main places I lived. I was working in a bike shop in Leighton Stone High Road, not far short where Steve used to stay. So we're all pretty close knit. Yeah. So what sort of thing would you like to know? Exactly.
No, I think you've covered it. No, I think you've covered it quite well, actually. Look, well, let's go to 1975. Let's go to where it all started. Could you tell us, how did you meet Steve Harris, and how was your entrance into Iron Maiden forged?
Right. Well, I remember seeing Steve playing bass in a band called Gypsy's Kiss. That was with, you got to help me, Steve. What's it? Smith, Dave Smith.
Yeah, Dave Smith.
Smith.
Paul.
He was a year above me in school. It just sort of going there, no particular reason. It was just kind of blown out with the band, and thought, Steve, bloody good bass player. Yeah, it's not too bad at all. And I was just getting into, as I'd call it back then, the hobby. Just getting into the hobby of singing. And thought no more about it. And then Steve with a bunch of guys walked past where I was working. Because I was that impressed. I just said, would you like a singer? Because I was just messing about low grade, no bedrooms, just working with guitars, no drums or anything like that. So I was learning. But I just basically went out and said, yeah, can I sing for you? Yeah, it's great. I didn't realise this was a new band at that stage. Steve said no, not interested. And I went, no problem, and I left it at that. And then maybe a few days later, Steve come around to the shop. He says, oh, I am interested in trying you out. It's just that we've got a singer already, and we didn't want to say anything in front of him. So I never knew who he was, never met him or anything. I don't know who it was, that guy before. That's even before my history. And I went to the audition a little bit nervous because I was new at it, and it kind of felt like the real thing for the first time in my life. You know, with bass drums, 2 guitars, they were already pretty tight together, working on those songs, and it was quite impressive to what I did. I used to fool about with originals occasionally, but it was mainly just covers as well. So doing real songs, you know, original songs, I thought, oh, this is it. I'm in a real band. It just was like snap all of a sudden. It was nothing in particular, a hobby to, the bar was risen. And I can't remember much, you know. It was like a long time ago. Can't remember much, but I remember it being good, hard work. It was good. It was always progressing. We didn't spend much time dillying around or chatting or stuff. We just sung, you know, played, worked on and arranged songs that existed. You know, Steve come with the grain of an idea, you know, words and a few riffs, and then it got thrown out to the boys, and we, you know, partly jammed them, knocking them into shape, and just bloody enjoying it, you know. And then we got a strange gig, my first gig. I believe it's the first. It's 2 first gigs for me. One was in a church, and I can't remember the order. Can't remember much about it, but I had a cape on, a sort of cloaky type thing. I wanted to do something, and it went pretty good, and I remember being pleased about it. Then we had a Dave Lights party at Dave Lights' house. I'm not sure which one's first. And we played there. And it was really good, but hard to remember the details.
But when you say Dave Lights' house, are you talking about the nunnery?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. It was spotted there at the time.
That's right, okay.
Yeah, Camden Town Way. Could never pin down the address.
Camden, that far over. I thought it was Canning Town.
Canning Town, mate. Yeah, sorry, Canning Town. You're right.
Poplar, around that area.
Yeah, sort of just beyond the Bridge House kind of thing.
So Paul, was that a convent that was no longer inhabited by nuns and rented out to
That's correct.
tenants?
It was, nothing at all religious was going on there. You know, it was just a vacated place, so it didn't seem too much religious trappings either. Yeah, well, basically, I come to sing, and I wasn't really architecturally minded, so it was a place, a room, a lot of space, and
because there were stories that it was haunted as well.
Yeah, I heard that, but nothing personally ever sort of put the willies up me, so to speak. You know, it was all.
It was just something that David Lights sort of mentioned.
Oh, it was positive, yeah.
At Cart Day, about what was somebody that used to hang about with the band at the time. Apparently the toilets were upstairs, and this guy was like walking up the stairs, not really taking much notice of what was going on, and saw someone coming down the stairs towards him. So he got out of the way, and then realised there was nobody there.
Wow.
And it's, you know, it's like spooky, you know. But it's just like little things like that sort of stick in your mind. But again, I think we need to talk to Dave Lights because he's got some great stories anyway.
Paul, you mentioned before that when you first heard Maiden, you were immediately, or when you first heard the guys play in Gypsy's Kiss, you were immediately impressed.
Yeah.
What was it exactly? What was your very, very first impression that gripped you about Steve's playing or musicmanship that compelled you to then want to play with him music?
Well, at that time, I was very fond of Geezer Butler and his sort of playing style, and Chris Squires from Yes. And he was just sort of in that zone, you know. He was flash, he was solid, and the sound was good. Again, you know, so long ago, and I never kept a diary or anything. It's really hard to remember these things and be accurate about it. But just impressed. And like I said before, I was just playing in bedrooms and things like that, not even rehearsal rooms or with PAs, and it was just up that notch. that sudden. It wasn't like I started with a bunch of beginners and then progressed. It was like I was with beginners, then not realising I just jumped up this notch of professionalism. It was, to me, something I wish I was more prepared for mentally, really.
And and when you did get into the swing of things and play with a band, what was your initial, if you can remember, what was your initial reaction to the famous Steve Harris time changes? Because there are documented accounts of previous musicians that played with him who really struggled with that or found it hard to keep up with.
Oh yeah, I should imagine so. It was, unless you're into that sort of genre, which I was. I liked music, which is kind of complicated. And Steve introduced me to Judas Priest, and immediately said "Wings of Destiny" was a brilliant album, and "Victim of Changes" and "The Ripper," bang, And I thought we were that sort of band at that stage, and it was just exciting times because Led Zeppelin was losing its flavour for me. Black Sabbath was as well. Deep Purple, they're all kind of not what they were to me. And Steve introduced me to Judas Priest. Said, "Oh, this is it. This is the new Messiah." And like the band and Rob Halford ended up being king for probably 10 years of my life as a singer. And to me, after seeing that, Iron Maiden seemed more like this is the band. So nothing really first and for me seemed awkward or complicated. It was interesting. It was fascinating. For me, music's not about dancing and tapping your feet. Yeah, you get a few drinks in you want to do that sort of stuff. But for me, music was an emotional food. So the time changes, the complexity of things, the dynamics, the true dynamics. Was exciting me. Very satisfying.
Yeah.
And I'm still probably more into music it takes listening to. Like Steve introduced me to Rush over 30 years ago, and they're still my favourite band in totally. Last year, introduced me to Porcupine Tree, and I'm finding them fascinating. And each time I hear them, I'm hearing something new. So, yeah, Steve Harris is sort of, that format of music to me was good. It was what I wanted. Yeah. So I was very pleased and felt very privileged.
Paul, when you entered the band, were songs like Rothschild, Prowler, Iron Maiden, Transylvania, were they already written based on your recollections, or were they being developed whilst you were there? What do you have any recollections of those?
Yeah, well, Iron Maiden come pretty quick. Iron Maiden was, I should say Iron Maiden, I'm as sure as I can be, Iron Maiden were already there. Rothschild was there in an early stage. I remember actually seeing the words for them when I used to pick him up in the car. He showed me the words and like a bit of the riff. Then we went, when we all got together, then I just sort of done it. What do you think? Was it all right? Yeah, but that sort of thing bands do. They work together to form the best product they can. So, I come up with some ideas, I'm sure. And they were crafted from Steve and other people in the band as well at the time. It's really hard to describe what happens because it's just such a natural process working in band.
That's right. And here we are 43, 44 years later, talking about events which perhaps at the time, many weren't aware of how significant a lot of these songs were to become.
I mean, we all had a hope and a dream, but we never expected. Yeah. There was no expectation of being massive. You just don't know. No. You're young, you're giving it a shot, putting your heart and soul into it, and your ego, putting everything you can into it. But mainly it's for fun. At that stage, music was still a hobby. It was after Maiden, unfortunately, that it became a profession. It's a shame, but Iron Maiden, I always say, was my first real band because everything else was just knocked together with friends.
All right.
Yeah, It's different back then. You could sit at home with a bit of computer skill, and you can write and finish a song in your bedroom. But in them days, that 40 odd years ago, even recording it on a tape recorder needed a lot of money, and it was bad. You know, photographs, you had to take a picture and then wait a week to get it developed. Everything was so different now.
Yeah, it's true.
Everything around us is so different.
It really is a time capsule, isn't it?
Freedom to say what we wanted to say as well in lyrics. You know, now things are getting tight and people becoming more and more easily offended nowadays.
Yeah, look, it's a different world. It's a completely different world, I guess, now with, political correctness and, this age, as you say, where everyone's offended. Musicians are hamstrung, really, aren't they, with what they can.
This will go down as the snowflake decade.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, Paul,
it's a whole different planet, you know, and music, I guess digital really killed it all. When everything went digital, you know, the record companies lost their grip because people just pass music around easy, you know. It's
having said that, some say that they were happy when the record companies died because they really ripped off the artist back in the day.
Well, it's true. It's true. It's the devil you must have back then. Yeah. Now, no one's willing to put any substantial money into an act unless it's a guaranteed success. So it pushes a lot of them Maiden scenarios out of the window. You've got to do it on the internet, and there's so much background noise of everyone saying, listen to me, listen to me. It's very hard. Yeah.
And the business has changed significantly. I mean, back in those days, bands made money on record sales. Now bands make money purely on touring and merchandise. There's just no money in music. So it's a testimony to bands like Maiden who every few years are still producing new music and good quality new music. So,
and what surprised me a few years ago when I saw them in Sydney, I think they had the Book of Souls tour, I guess. That would be.
I was at that show. I was at that show at Acer Arena.
That could be it, Again, remembering what the place is called. Good friend of mine, Mark Snedden, took me there to see him. Very good friend, very good Maiden connection over here round up my way. And what impressed me was after so many years, now they're living like lords, and they're still giving it that 110% they always did. I don't think I can think of any band it's that old now. You know, making a big stage look small.
We've discussed this on the show, actually, Paul. It's an interesting point. Loopy and I have discussed it on the show. Having seen the band 30 odd years ago and having seen them just a few weeks ago, I did not detect any appreciable drop in intensity over a 3-decade period. I mean, the musicmanship, the skill, the tightness was just incredible. I mean, they're one of a kind of a band. So
Paul, they give the audience every penny the audience pay. They give back in the energy. It's great. It makes me proud.
Paul, take us now to the first Iron Maiden show at the Cart and Horses. Tell us just the first thing that comes to your head about that first gig or that era, those first few gigs at the Cart and Horses. What was it like? What was the atmosphere like? What were the fans like?
My memory was it was never a full place. Like when I was singing, I could always see the bar quite easily all the time. To me, other people tell me it was really full and doing well. All I knew was it was important for me to do. That's what I can remember. You know, it was like I wasn't yet ready to say I'm going to show off. It was like the singing, and I was thinking of my heroes, like it's like Ian Gillan is still thinking of him and thinking that, just dream, doing the air guitar thing. It's like back then it was. So but it's hard to remember the detail. It was just good. I thought we were good. We could always be better. It always sounded like we could always be better, but it was good. It's like, we want to give our best. We did that.
Yeah.
But it's for better.
Yep.
We never eat, and I suppose that's Maiden's thing still, good enough ain't good enough.
Yeah. Now the set list involved obviously some of the original songs which ended up on the first two albums. There was also some covers from, for example, there was Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy and Striker by Tucky Buzzard and I'm a Mover.
That one I can't remember for some reason.
So
it sticks to me mind. Yeah.
Was it Steve who chose those covers, or was it a band effort?
Because I'm new and not really experienced, I think it was probably Steve and maybe one or two of the other guys suggesting them, and I just took them, I remember Simple Man. It's funny, I only heard that a while ago, and I thought, I remember that song, and I could sing along with it after all them years. And I thought, I think I did that in Maiden. I was thinking. So that was a song I never heard. I Got the Fire by Montrose was another one. Didn't know it at the time. Quite got fond of that. That was an early song in the set, if I remember. It said like Jailbreak. I can't remember many more. Remember many more. And I used to say to Steve, we should do some more covers to try and get people dancing or moving. They were just sort of standing there, and I was wondering, what was going on. I said, no, we're just doing the originals. So for me, I can only remember 3 covers. I'm sure there was more. That Spider one you said, was it Striker?
Tucky Buzzard, Striker, yeah.
Yeah, it sticks in my mind for some reason, but I've got it now. Like Dave Lights, the thing, having a light show that moved with music. Now and then a band at the Cart and Horses used to see Slowbone before I met up on Maiden, and it's just like a couple of lights. But it was really good being on stage, and there was these lights moving in time and everything. That made it feel so good.
There's an interesting fact for you.
Yeah.
Slowbone were the only white band to ever sign for Tamla Motown.
Oh, right. How about that?
Yeah, it's pretty useless, isn't
it? Yeah, they had a good following.
So we then fast forward 12 months, 30 odd shows, and you exited the band. What were the circumstances that led to you parting ways with Iron Maiden?
Inexperience on my part, really. It was, and I can't remember what I did win the show, but it was basically I wasn't a front man as such. I weren't good enough, and because of my inexperience, I didn't really know what wasn't good, how to do it, or anything like that. And Steve was warning me, and maybe the band was warning me, get your act together, get better, you need to get better. You're the weak link sort of thing on that. Not on the voice, I'm pleased to say. But yeah, the stage personality and presence, that's what let me down, which is basically experience. And I probably...
Let's face it, you learn from that. Obviously, by the time I caught up with you again with more,
yeah,
you were a completely different person.
That's right. Losing it did hurt. It really did hurt. And something a few of us can relate to, maybe some girlfriend that you're really, really fond of when you were young. When that ends, it tears you. And it did. It did. But, you get on, you think, oh, well, they're not going to make it. Never mind, sort of thing. And you just move on. You carry on,
Wrong.
Didn't cross at all. Yeah, we didn't cross paths again until I had the recording deal with Moore, and then we supported them in Europe, which was a very, very fond memory of my life.
Was that the Killers? Was that the Killers tour in '81?
Yeah, with Paul Diano.
Yeah.
That was excellent. It was actually the thought of that, after not talking to Iron Maiden or Steve or anyone for that period of time, I thought this could be really awkward. But I think losing the band and knowing there was supporting and Steve would get to see me, it made me really want to try even harder. You know, and I just felt I did well. You know, I didn't let the side down, and it was great. And no one actually told me in Maiden what they thought of me, but I thought I did my best. And that's what counts.
Yeah, and I have seen footage and heard audio. I mean, if I may say, you've got a freakishly powerful voice. I think I've sort of said this to a couple of other fans. I think your voice could have very, very easily and seamlessly belonged on the first two albums on Iron Maiden and Killers.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's complementary to all those songs and the style that they were playing in those first 2-3 years of the recording history. So it indeed was a learning experience and a good one. So.
Yeah, and I was spotlight operator on the European tour, the last half of it. So I used to watch the whole set. And it was great. I was singing along with the songs and starting to know them all again. And always, you know, it was a band it was worth seeing every night. It was good, you know, it was professional. It was a higher level than us, but it was still a step above, you know.
Paul, so we're up to 1981, 82. Could you talk us through your career from 1982 right through to 87, 88?
Yeah. Well, that was the start. It's basically, I think, at the end of the 70s and started recording at the beginning of the 80s. And I think it was 1980, we toured on the Killers tour. I think
81.
It was 80, okay. Then I did Donington, which was something I really wanted to do, but quite disappointing. Yeah, it was that big, and I was so excited that when it happened, it was only 80,000 people. I'm saying only. I think it was something like 150,000 when AC/DC were on. But you didn't get the fair share of the PA or the sound, you know, the sounds like. The crowd was pretty okay, but yeah. So I was disappointed. That was strange. You know, normally every gig's pretty good, but that one was like, it was big, but yeah, weird. Then we flew off to Germany, I think, and done an outdoor festival. It was really busy, that era. Yeah, and then Moore and me weren't getting on too well, I suppose. And after the second album, after I completed the second album, I kind of split with the band, and they got rid of all my words, all my melodies, and got the singer in, and basically ruined the album. I mean, that album, well, just think of it this way, that album was a year and a half in the making as we were touring. So we had all that time to get it right, and then someone had to come along and say, don't sing anything like him, don't sing them words, fill the holes up. And that was sad, because I had a copy of that album with me on.
I've got a question regarding that. Right, this is, during your time with Moore, you played a great live track called Traitor's Gate. Yeah. Who wrote the song?
That was basically started by Laurie Mansworth and myself jamming with the band. But Laurie came up with the original spark.
So your lyrics?
Yeah, and that one was kept on the album because that was such a popular song at the time and they didn't want to change it.
That was good. I mean, basically, the next part of the question was, were you annoyed that it turned up on the second album with no credit to you?
Oh, I guess that's whose fault's that, you know, really. It's one of them things, yeah. I was more upset that the album sounded like crap. You know, it was an album I think might have really helped Moore's career. It was kind of good. It was starting to level out. We had the right producer this time, the right attitude. We toured constantly for a year and a half. Yeah, the album was good, and then taking me off just wrecked it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, basically, considering how good the live show was,
yeah,
it was just so loud and so raw. It was, and then to try and capture that, it
was pretty well played like live.
Yeah, fell on his arse.
Yeah, only my voice was the only thing that had work spent on it. But yeah, it was, and I heard it recently. I managed to get a copy, I think, via Steve heard it, and it was, all the music was there, and it felt good. And then this other voice come on, and it was different. It was shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame. So, but I didn't look back, because then sort of Wildfire happened. Basically, I tried to hit the ground running after more.
Something that's basically, it doesn't get mentioned that often about Wildfire, but how did that all come about? I mean, you were basically living at our place at the time. How did that all come about? Because I don't know what I was doing, but I completely missed it.
Yeah, it was strange. It was good fortune the way it started, because it was Martin Bushell and myself. He had a lot of guitar stuff, and we were just sort of sitting in a bedroom with a cassette player, sort of jamming with these songs. And then we created a demo, and apparently the bass player was a milkman and the drummer was somebody else, and we got this demo done. And actually, one of the songs, Wildfire, sounded better than the proper album. It was sort of, it, like the guitar let loose. It was this Stratocaster, whammy bars, every effect under the sun, and it was. I liked it. It sort of just went mental. We had a chance through some friends in Belgium to meet a record company, and me as an idiot took the first offer that was offered to us. But I was keen on making an album, which was going to end up 2 months from that time. So we ended up, and I guess through Martin's connections, finding Jeff Summers, Bruce Bisland and Jeff Brown to complete the band. And we actually recorded that first album before we ever done a gig.
Because Jeff Summers and Bruce they'd both been in Weapon, so obviously Weapon had finished by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay.
Yeah, and I was very pleased with the band, because after More, I kind of the opposite
direction to start with.
Yeah, it simplified. It started to get a bit too simple for me, and that was when Rush really turned my head. I wanted things a little bit more complicated, so Wildfire come along, didn't actually do that as much, but it was like a marriage of heavy rock and commerciality. It was something, there were songs there that might fit on daytime radio at that period in the early 80s. It seemed a perfect band to me, and it's probably the proudest I've been of something I've been involved with musically still. I still listen to both albums and like them.
Yeah, I still listen to both albums. And you're right, I mean, it's the perfect blend of melodic metal.
Yeah. Which suited me, which kind of worked. It was practical. Yes, we could get airplay and, do the growing thing, because, that's the dying years of British heavy metal, I suppose, wasn't it?
Take on the end.
Yeah, so it was starting to disappear out of everyone's sort of mainstream. So I thought Wildfire would fit that gap nicely. And it was great fun, great team, but unfortunately the record company just wasn't strong enough to do anything for us. We had a tour supporting Hawkwind, of all things, in England. You're living in a coach, doing it on a cheap. And, I was a Hawkwind fan when I was young, and but it was the wrong mix. We went down okay, but every record shop we went into town to check to see if the records were in, there was no records there. So we did a tour. No one could buy anything.
No promotion.
Paul, so what years? When were the Wildfire years? What's the timeline there?
I'd say 82 to early 85.
Okay.
I'd say, because then sort of April 85, then there was with Sweet. And that was a totally different thing. Another good experience, really. And that's how I come to Australia.
Yeah, so that's a nice segue into what I wanted to ask next. How did you end up in the sunburnt country? How did you end up down under?
Well, I got this tour with Sweet. it was an unknown band, but it was just an advert. It was shown to me. A successful band, got to do a tour of Australia in 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. Done the audition, found out on the phone that it was Sweet, and I went, oh, because not a Sweet fan back then. I went, oh, okay. I'll give it a go though. I'd like to be able to go to Australia and do all this sort of stuff. Well, I done the audition. I gave it a real good shot. It went really well. They said they'll call me on a Thursday. And I remember Thursday coming went. So Friday, I was at Heathrow Airport or Gatwick Airport with Stage Miracles, moving some stuff from a plane to a truck, no doubt. Thinking, I'll never fly on a plane to Australia that day. And then I got home and bang, Andy Scott phoned me up and says, you've got the job. It was quite exciting, actually. I was with a real band with a real name at that particular time. It was quite exciting. I saw them a few years earlier on at the Lyceum, and I thought they were pretty okay. But the great musicianship in the voices of the guys. Phil Lanson on keyboards with Uriah, excellent. Mel McNulty on bass, was really a guitar player, but he done a great job on bass, great singer. Myself and Mick Tucker and Andy Scott. It was a really good band. I had my own hotel room. I had a seat on the bus as opposed to, lying in the back of the truck with the gear and all that. It really felt like a high life. Actually, it was making money as well. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And by the time the tour finished, because it was extended to about 4 months, maybe. It was. It was wonderful. It was like professionally, it was a highlight too. But I kept on saying, I'm in the cover band still. Doing Ballroom, Blitz, Fox on the Run and all that. Songs are not mine. That was the only negative.
So the plan was obviously to finish the tour and go back to the UK, is that correct?
Finished the tour back to the UK, then we done Live at the Marquee.
Yeah.
The video. And then we went back a second time. We were back in Perth, I think, about 6 months after leaving. Perth was the last date on the first tour and the first date. So, 6 months between. It weren't quite the same. It didn't go down quite the same. But we done Hey It's Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds.
Is that when Hey Hate's Saturday was an evening show? Or was it still the morning show?
It was evening. Yeah, it was the evening show.
Oh, great times.
And I was hamming it up, wearing all these sort of clothes, looking a bit gay, and hamming up, thinking, I won't be here, and then I end up living here and facing the music. But it doesn't matter. It was good fun. That's all it was supposed to be.
So did you settle in Perth originally, or did you...
No, I was Tamarama when I come here. I come here to live in 86. And it was Tamarama at South Bondi. Lived there for a few years in
Sydney.
Felt strange to a London boy. Yeah, felt strange to a London boy. Ended up moving to Balmain and feeling a lot better. Small streets, a lot of people in a smaller area. It felt more comfortable actually, Balmain.
Fantastic.
And now I'm in Newcastle, living out in the quietness and loving it.
Paul, one of the interesting things that you said on Cart Day was you living in Australia, you're in the right place for a lifestyle, but in the wrong place for the music or a music career. Look, on the surface, it's self-explanatory. I mean, as an Australian, I 100% understand what you're saying, but could you elaborate that for our audience who may not know, the machinations of the Australian music business?
Well, I'm not too sure to begin with, but geographically, it's a hard country to tour. So you want to go to Perth? That's a fortune. It's the distance. They sort of say Sydney to Perth's like London to Moscow.
It's more like Los Angeles to New York, similar sort of
Right.
Similar
yeah.
sort of distance. But yeah, you're right. It's
And the lifestyle, the Australian lifestyle, is kind of different. It's really hard to place it now. It's relaxed. People don't want to be wound up by music as much. For me. There's still a rock. You still see them making T-shirts out in the street occasionally, but it's not a rock place. And I just think going back to England, it made me realise it felt like home musically. Doing that cart day. In fact, cart day was just something I was doing on holiday. It ended up being probably the best day of my life. What it meant to me. It was a surprise.
Paul, if you
music, you got Europe. You get on a ferry, you go to Europe, you can play gigs, you can pack a back of a van and go to another country. It was, like Europe was so good. England is probably the only place I want to start singing again. I just feel that connection. It was lost for a long time, going, meeting this whole new generation that saw me and they embraced me, thought I was something special. Well, the only special thing about me, I sang in Iron Maiden, I guess. Otherwise, you wouldn't be talking about it.
Well, I mean, let's sort of draw the line there quite simply because let's go back a year before the plans were made for the year to come over in January.
Yeah.
There were many times when we were chatting and you'd say that you did other things. It wasn't just Iron Maiden.
That's right, yeah.
You would get a bit pissed off about the fact that people only knew you for Iron Maiden. You weren't being recognised for doing these other things. But now, I think you sort of embraced that, yeah.
Oh, I'm part of the family. That's right.
Yeah. This is what we want to get across, but it took you that little bit longer.
Yeah. Oh, it's good now. There's no chip on my shoulder anymore, and I feel part of it. It's quite a painful thing. It's hard to put yourself in it, maybe, but to be that close to something that good and lose it, not even because of the voice was bad, but because I just didn't know what to do. No experience. Some people have it, some people have to work for it. It was, it's getting the kick up the arse from Steve sort of made me think, well, And
you went out and improved yourself.
Yeah. And I did. It was a matter of life and death. And I used to love doing it. It was like in Cart Day was just a wonderful experience, same thing. And I would love to do that sort of thing again. I really would. But I'm 63 now. It's getting a bit old. Things are starting to fall off, so to speak. And basically, I haven't sung since Cart Day.
Right. So you've given up singing completely. What went wrong with Crimson Lake? That was never brought up.
It was just people. It was a real personality thing. There was people in there that, I don't know, either they got too big for their boots, they started to pick up their toys and walk away, and I was I wanted the demo and I wanted to try and get to Europe and trying to do Brazil and things like that. You exploit that Iron Maiden connection a bit, just to open some people's ears. And I really liked Crimson Lake. It was something after 20-something years of being in this country and trying different air parade schemes, it seemed like a perfect band. It was a band ready for a singer. Yeah. So it was none of this starting from the beginning. They had material, I started to add to it. The guitar player was the sort of Eddie Van, so sort of guy. So you only needed one guitar. The bass player was pretty flash. The drummer was quite competent. And then it all just went weird. As soon as we got the demo done, the drummer, the guitar player sacked the drummer without talking to the rest of the band, and all this was going on. It just started to fall apart. The end of Crimson Lake was, I was the only person left in that band that created that. I was the last to join and the only one left. And we ended up being a cover band, and I was already in one. And I just went, enough. Because you don't get the work. What do you play? Oh, we play our own stuff. Oh, I'm not interested. We get that a lot.
Yeah. I remember you saying that And you got fed up with doing a show where people were applauding, and you realised there was a TV behind you, and they were watching the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, I haven't really got a big ego or an ego, but when I'm there, look at me, sort of thing, hear me, it's,
Yeah.
I suppose that's what I learned about, I'm just Joe, but when I'm singing, I'm it. And when you've got a good audience, you can do amazing things. And when the audience don't care, I just start feeling a little bit shy, I guess.
Paul, do you have any more plans in the future to travel back to the homeland, travel back to London and sing and perform?
I'd like to, really like to. We tried to start something up that was worthwhile travelling, and nothing's really come about because it's difficult and all that. So I had a flight offered to me, a return flight to England. Now, I might do that to see my mum at some stage, but it would be nice to do something again musical because, like I said, it was the best day of my life, and being in that pub after so long. It was such a surreal experience. Seeing people, people I knew like Dave and David Terry from the band and Dave Lights, and seeing them after all that time, it was like mind blowing. So yeah, I would like to go back. Saw a lot of aeroplanes as well, a lot of UK things, and only yesterday I was saying there's a couple of things I missed. I would have loved to have gone to Woolwich. Because I used to, no, not Woolwich, Greenwich, sorry. Greenwich, used to love that, bunking off school, taking a 6-9 bus, I think, and going to Greenwich. Like to go to Southend. So, yeah, I'd like to go back. It's not on the cards, but basically, when I was on Static Cart Day, I said I want to say goodbye to everything because it took over 30 years to get back as such. I just don't know when it's going to happen again.
Yeah, you did mention a number of times it was a goodbye to England.
Yeah, because I did have a lot of problems. Sort of when I left England, it was like bye, and then I came to Australia and was all excited about that, and then I started to go strange. And then when I was talking about the way I left England a few years ago, I thought it's probably because I haven't actually said goodbye. I felt as though I never said goodbye to my friends good enough. I never said goodbye to the place. I was so excitedly looking forward. I didn't think I was going to be away from the country that long. But you get enough money where you can start saving for the flight. There's always something that needs happening. Got to buy tyres for the car or whatever. That sort of thing. I'm just a working class boy. Quite pleased about that. But,
Yeah. Life is...
when you want to know.
Yeah, life is what happens when you're busy making plans, isn't it? It's one of those sort of scenarios, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I'm just sort of just relaxing like this, still living on that cart day. That cart day is still actually here. It is, yeah.
As it should be, Paul. There was, look, I wasn't there, but from friends who were there and from what I've seen and heard, there was a lot of love and adoration for you.
It's
very palpable.
Yeah. And I thought, shit, maybe my life weren't as wasted as I thought it was. I've touched someone in some way, and hopefully that day was something to myself personal that these people could see, rather than, wondering what I was like, knowing what it was like. Obviously, I've got older, and I like to think wiser. But basically the same bloke like Steve Harris was. That was another thing that really surprised me when Steve and me went round to Steve Harris's place. It was the same guy in the 70s. And that made me really feel proud of him, knowing him, the same bloke. He was quite a powerful bloke back then. He knowing him the way I did, I understand why Iron Maiden did well. He did not compromise. He always told me that when I was trying to compromise the show by putting covers in, he says, no, I'm sticking to my guns. Quote. That was always his comeback, and he did. All for that punk era where people wanted him to change and you know, and he just stuck to his guns, and he still has.
Yeah, and 39.
It's kept it. All them other bands that have been around that I loved, like Sabbaths and the Zeppelins and all that, to me, they weakened. But Maiden still was strong.
Yeah, 40 years later, and
Yeah.
sold out arenas the world over.
And I think that commitment people would admire.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Loopy, anything else, mate?
Yeah, I've got a few questions.
Sure.
Not going to keep you too long. Going back to the Sweet Life at the Marquee.
Yeah.
I think it was a nice thing to say that your vocals were overdubbed.
Yeah.
Or some of your vocals were overdubbed.
The choruses, pretty well all the choruses. I thought I was in tune singing them, but we heard the playback. For every chorus, I was singing sharp. I was singing just a slight bit higher than I should do. Better than being flat, but better to be in tune totally. So I had to do all the choruses again because the backing vocals were coming out that strong for the PA. You could imagine you're in close quarters. All the sound is like just a foot away from you. Everything, monitors, drums, guitars, bass. So when all them backing vocals come in, I just couldn't pitch. I felt and sounded like I was in tune, but no, it was on the playback. I was just sharp.
I mean, this goes on. I mean, it's a great album. But listening to it, you've got the arena audience. Anybody that's actually been to the Marquee will know it holds around about 300 people.
Yeah.
So why was it dubbed with this arena audience? It just didn't make any sense.
What's that? You mean the audio, or
the crowd noise? It was an arena crowd noise on the playback.
I didn't know.
No,
I didn't know. I they had to push something up what the crowd do. There was something the crowd, and they had to push the slider up to get that heard. No, I really don't remember that. Honestly,
what they've done is they've timed 10.
In all honesty, if that choice was there and I was there, I say, yeah, bang on a big audience. You know, to me, live videos and live gigs shouldn't be on sale. You know, every recording is just you and a DVD or you in a file. You've got to make that recording as exciting as you can. If that audience makes it sound exciting, why not?
Well, there's a fair point, but then wouldn't it have been easier to have changed the name to Sweet Live in London? Because then it could have been recorded anywhere with a big arena. It's just, it just, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah,
As I said, it's a small club, but you've got this massive crowd, like a stadium-sized crowd sort of cheering, and it's...
disappointed now. I thought they was all there liking us.
It's just a little thing that I heard, and I thought, yeah, I wonder.
Well, you could have done. I mean, it could have been done. It could have been done quite easily, I suppose. But I really had no knowledge of that. And if what you say is true, I'm making no apology because, like I said, you've got to make things larger than life because it's, you know.
It's still such a great album. Doesn't really matter, but it was just something I noticed. An observation.
No, well done because I actually thought they was liking us that. No, I'll have to listen to it again with that in mind, actually.
Yeah, you've seen what I mean. But, it was over my head and Jump the Fence were co-written by you and Sweet.
Yeah.
Did you feel you were settling in by then, or did you want something else?
I did settle in, and I thought getting the opportunity to start writing some new material, not just relying on the old hits, I thought was a positive experience. But again, we did play the songs on the second Australian tour, and they were definitely not going down well. Also, we just let them go and didn't bother playing them. So that sort of ended there. As far as original material, I guess. Because at the end,
did you leave Reach Out in the set?
Yeah, we tried that a few times, but that was, I don't know, that didn't seem to come across well either. It didn't, yeah, it just didn't come across well because it was that ZZ Top sequencer thing was pairing it all the way through, and I don't think as a bass drum guitar sort of band we were set up enough. I don't know, sequencer wise, to make it sound good. It just wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
Because of vocals or anything, because that band could bloody sing well. It was just, yeah, it just didn't feel right. And you have them experiences, you know something's wrong, but you don't know what.
Yeah.
It never kind of got together. In fact, that was probably the hardest work I ever done singing in a studio. I was 6 hours doing that one track. Tucker was producing me, and I must admit, there is not one thing that I regret on that vocal of Reach Out. No regrets at all. He worked me hard, and it was really worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got the cassette. I don't play it that often, but now that I've actually got it on the CD of the Sweet Live at the Marquee,
yeah,
I do sort of go back to it every now and again, and it's songs.
Yeah, and I love the piano at the end of it when the song finishes and restarts. I actually look forward to that piano part. It's just got I don't know. I rate music an emotional level. You know, the more I shudder, the more I might get a bit of a tear because the adrenaline's going, and you think the higher I rate the song. You know, and I get that sort of feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
And towards the end now. So, here's a good one for you.
Okay.
Who would be your ideal band to front?
Great question. Great question.
Oh dear. I can't answer it with one answer. You know, there's the first band I just thought of was Faith No More. Then I thought, Maiden would be nice. It's really hard, you know, because I might have the Ozzy Osbourne vibe, you know, or the Judas Priest vibe every day. I've always wanted to work with Brian May. I've always, well, from the very first album, Brian May's been a guitar player that I am absolutely impressed with. The sounds and the styles, even on the rubbishy pop songs they do, you know, the guitar sounds are so good. So Brian May would be nice. It's a tricky question. If you've mentioned it before, and it is a hard one to answer because there's so many.
Let's change it around a little then.
Yeah.
If you could put another band together, who would you ask to join you and why? So, put them on the spot twice in a minute. This is great.
Oh, well, Martin Bushell, I suppose. I've never personally admired a guitar player so much as Martin Bushell.
Yeah, you said that before.
Yeah, I would sing with him in a heartbeat. You know, Jeff Summers as well, because he knows how to compose the perfect song. Well, I'd like to actually be in Wildfire again, I guess. That band, yeah, it's really thinking about it. That band, to me, it was a very close partnership. We had a lot of fun together.
It was great to work with you guys. I mean, we used to go to some weird and wonderful places, like the Double Six Club in Basildon and Penny Farthing in Oxford.
Penny Farthing, I remember. Penny Farthing, definitely that one.
Great, we used to have great fun.
Yeah, they were good. We wanted to be really good, but we wasn't putting ultimate pressure on ourselves. It was fun. We believed in it. It was great, and that probably talking about something that I've done. I would like to redo that. Definitely Wildfire.
Paul, one of the bands that I think your voice would suit quite well is Noiseworks, the old Australian band. I think you and John Stevens have a quite powerful voice, very similar voice, and those songs and that genre, I could easily see you having fronted Noiseworks back in the day.
Yeah, well, that would have been quite comfortable actually, because I did like them in. I saw them once at Sydney Cove and was very impressed
Great band.
with the overall finished product. You know, I was in the mix sound in the venue. It sounded good. The songs were right. Yeah.
Yeah, great
And
Australian.
that could have worked. Yeah.
They're a fantastic Aussie band, actually.
Yeah.
Really good.
They are.
Great.
Yeah, the 90s was a great time for Aussie music. Mind you, I was listening to Triple J a lot then. But yeah, it was. Yeah, Powderfinger was excellent.
See, I thought I liked the 80s as sort of Australian rock, that when we had Colt Chisel, Noiseworks, Ice House, Jimmy Barnes. There was that sort of. It started off with the so-called Australian pub bands. Well, they weren't really pub bands, but that's the nickname that was given to that style of music. And I thought that actually put the Australian music industry on the map.
Well, you're probably right, because the mid-80s when I come here, Hoodoo Gurus,
Hunters and Collectors, Martin Seymour.
And it was, and I thought Australia, yes, they're becoming international class. And I thought so during the 90s as well. There's some good bands. But actually one that sort of came in when I really was impressed with when I come in, Spy versus Spy. Their first album was great. And I don't know. I've refused to listen to the radio now. I just put the iPod on random and try and get as many new songs that I've never heard before. There's million songs I've not even heard, and I like my songs, but the thing is, I've heard them. I'm doing that now. I'm just listening to new things, and nothing's worse than me than radio and just hearing all day what I've already heard. I've gone that way. I think it's my time of life. There's so many songs, and I'm frightened to die and miss them all. I want to hear them all, because there's some songs that are very special to me.
Okay, so what would you have played at your funeral?
Oh dear, I've thought of that sometimes. And what was it? Oh, damn.
What about
Tom Sawyer? I keep on thinking about, but it's not personal enough. But
that Porcupine Tree? I drive the hearse.
Yeah, I'm in the boot.
Oh my God!
I don't know the titles yet, but yeah.
Well,
Lazarus. I only have one other question, Paul.
Okay.
Can you explain what you do now?
Right. I work at a fiberglass sort of resin place. I make coatings for floors, mixed coatings. At the moment, I'm working with a chemist, being like a lab assistant and starting to develop other materials, getting the strength up and all that. But I'm not the brains, I'm just the hands, just a factory worker. Pays good, go to work, go home, forget about work. That's all I want nowadays, It's I don't want a career. If I have a career, it'd be music. And I'm not really interested in a career. I'm just interested in a wage to make my life, enough money to make my life interesting and keep me in the hobbies that I like doing.
Good stuff.
You work to live. You don't live to work.
Yes, that's it. I've mainly been like that all my life. And at this age, what's the point? I'll be retiring in about 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So, just cruise.
It's a terrific attitude to have. Music. Well, fantastic. There's a Loopy.
I'm done.
Well,
pardon me.
It's a fantastic conversation. Look, Paul, it's been a real pleasure and an honour having you on the show. And one thing I do want to say to finish off is, you look at the glory of what Iron Maiden is now. The sold out shows, the arenas, the Ed Force Ones, the merchandise. You strip all that back, and you, Paul Mario Day, you're part of that legacy. You're a foundation member. History will always note you down as the first and original singer of Iron Maiden, and that's a terrific legacy to have and something you should be extremely proud of.
I'm more proud now after coming to England. You know, it was always the thing I lost. You know, it was always Iron Maiden and regret. They both sort of went together. Yeah. Now I take satisfaction in what they've achieved. I've never, ever was jealous of their success because it's well deserved. So, and Bruce Dickinson's voice is like the master. So it's all good. So I am taking a bit of comfort from it now. Now I know that I am welcome in the family. I do feel part of it. And speaking to Steve Lazarus, because the day before Cart Day, I actually got to chat with him for a while. And I said to him now, I said, I feel like I'm part of a family there as opposed to something that reminded me of something bad. Now I don't feel that. So it's been great for my spirit.
Fantastic. What a...
Yeah, I can appreciate where I've been and all that, but I've got to say this. Why I'm so low-key is basically anyone that was in that band before an album, I'm not interested. Like, I ain't interested in the singer before Robert Plant, say, or the singer before Bon Scott. I'm just interested in them albums. That's why I always think, so what? You know, that's why I laid it down. But the people at the Fighting Horses showed me otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the Iron Maiden fan base, certainly the hardcore element. I mean, you know, we're interested in all of the entire history. And as I said, you are a key member, foundation member. You'll always be recognised in history as the first singer of Iron Maiden. An incredible honour. So.
Yeah, well, I think in Rothschild it's still a bit of me, you know, for one I can remember Iron Maiden, you know, them songs, them early songs I was there. There's a little bit of me in all of them, I think. I just feel that way.
Brilliant.
You know, just a bit, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Paul. It's been wonderful.
It's
Good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, it's good to see you, matey. Yeah.
Take care.
There's the cricket going.
Oh, the cricket. Now, should we... you notice that Loopy's put the sunburnt country upside down to make us sort of feel comfortable. But yeah, we're doing a lot better in the cricket, which is good, and it's great.
Yeah, it's good you got Smithy back. I mean, it just goes to show how much he was missed in the last game.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. All right, take care. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you episode 6.
Excellent.
See you, James.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.